Good afternoon, everybody. Bonjour tout le monde. It's fantastic to be here in Reykjavik, representing Canada for this most important conference. I'm looking forward to the next few days as we share our strong interest in issues affecting the people who live in the Arctic. Nearly 40% of Canada's landmass finds itself in the north and the Arctic, and the three territories and Inuit Nunangat, the homeland of the Inuit, are home to around 150,000 people, half of which are Indigenous. It's important for us to have strong relationships with circumpolar leaders on our shared priorities. The issues that you face are also critical to us, Canada. Addressing food security, taking action on the impacts of climate change, advancing reconciliation with Indigenous peoples, and ensuring sustainable economic development that benefits everyone. Using structures and policies that consider inequities and distinctions-based approaches, we work in direct collaboration with those living in the region to work towards their priorities. Underlying all of this work is our deep fundamental commitment to reconciliation with Indigenous peoples. We are on a mutual path, learning from our past mistakes, taking steps to renew our relationships, and building a better country and a better future for absolutely everyone. And reconciliation isn't just a one-time event. It's a journey. It's a multi-generational journey that involves everybody living in Canada, both Indigenous, but just as importantly, non-Indigenous. Reconciliation is based on honesty, on equity, and self-determination that will ensure progress with our Indigenous partners as we move forward towards implementing UNDRIP, the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People. To advance the priorities of the region, Canada has co-developed, along with Indigenous, territorial, and provincial partners, the Arctic and Northern Policy Framework, which is a transformative vision of the future where Northern and Arctic people live, where they are thriving, they are strong, and they are safe. Three very important words. Throughout this framework, we are working in partnership with the people of the North and the Arctic to move forward on this vision. The framework guides our priorities, guides our activities and our investments in the Arctic to 2030 and beyond. Now, one of the most critical areas where we've made progress is food security. By developing it in collaboration with Indigenous and Northern partners, the Nutrition North Canada program reduces reliance on store-bought food while supporting and encouraging traditional harvesting cultures and practices. We are also supporting local food production and community food sharing initiatives. Canada recognizes that food security in northern communities is an issue experienced in other Arctic countries. We've initiated the Sustainable Development Goals in the Arctic Project at the Arctic Council to help us understand the linkages between current challenges facing water, facing energy, and food security in the Arctic. One of the most challenging factors that affects food security, of course, is climate change. And the Indigenous and Northern communities are at the forefront. And we need to work together to adapt and to mitigate threats to communities. And one way we are doing so is by relying heavily on circumpolar cooperation and traditional Indigenous knowledge. Inuit have lived in the region since time immemorial, and the knowledge passed on by elders helps inform our work in communities more resilient to the change in their climate. Indigenous peoples have always been strong, responsible stewards of the land, stewards of the air, and as well as the water. Indigenous peoples are using knowledge passed down from elders and knowledge keepers and are applying that knowledge alongside Western science. They are already moving towards a more climate-resilient future through climate monitoring, adaptation solutions, and the transition to clean energy. Another area of interest for all of us is sustainable economic development. The Arctic provides vast opportunities and possibilities across a diverse range of sections, from fisheries to cultural industries to, of course, the mining sector. By working together in partnership, the Government of Canada is taking concrete steps to support communities as we together create economic prosperity and opportunities. We address climate change and food security and build a strong, healthy, sustainable future for Indigenous peoples and other peoples of the North and the Arctic. I am committed to continue working with international Arctic Circle partners, including Indigenous partners and communities, to address the complex issues in the Arctic region. Thank you for inviting me, Chairman Grimson, to be here and the opportunity to say a few words, and thank you for your presence here. Merci beaucoup. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed for your statement, and please join me here